Sean Meyers, as we continue here on our special playoff edition of Westmoreland on the Gridiron, now joined by Matt Humbert, the head coach of the Belle Vernon area Leopards, his team coming off of a bye as the top seed in the 3A bracket. First off, Matt, I'm sure that was a big accomplishment to win the conference, to get the number one seed. What did you do over the past week to make sure your team stays sharp while still probably recovering a little bit from a rigorous regular season schedule?
I mean, we kind of balanced it out. I think we really increased our rehab with a lot of the kids. I think the trainers were pretty busy this week with making sure that, the kids that needed it really were rehabbed before and after practice. So it was good because we do have a couple guys nicked a little bit. Nothing that will prevent anyone from playing on a Friday night, but it was good to kind of lick those wounds and get those healed up a little bit. But really, we just treated it like a practice week. We kind of wanted to stick to that same script, that same rigid day in and day out. And then we were able to lift the kids a little bit more, run the kids a little bit more, and focus more on some individual specific stuff. So it was a good week. Last year we had 2 bye weeks. We enjoyed those weeks. Gave us a leg up on prepping. But when you don't know who you're prepping for, you kind of got to just kind of guess it and, give them a little bit of everything. So I think this year is a little different because I think I started to get a little stir crazy. I kind of wanted to play last Friday. So, I'll take the bye week anytime, but I think we're all ready to go.
What did you do? Did you go out and watch the Mount Pleasant EA game, or did you kind of just stay at home and gather information that way?
I stayed at home. Most of my coaches went to that game. So, I got the updates minutely, if not, quarterly. But I just stayed home with my family. It's been a rarity to have a Friday night with the kids. So I took full advantage of that. We had a workout and practice on Friday, and then we got the kids out of there. So most of the guys went down to the game, and I just kind of stayed at home.
I know you mentioned getting some guys back healthy, and obviously that's key to make a postseason run. Often it comes down to the team that's the healthiest at the end of the season. I know in that game against Elizabeth Ford, you were without some guys. Evan Polott was notable. And then Jake Jedico seemingly suffered an injury in that one. So what's their status, and do you anticipate that they will be able to contribute going forward?
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head. That's the key. If you look at the WPIAL championship last year, we kind of, got into Hines on fumes. When we came out after halftime, we were down 4 kids, 2 that got nicked in that game, and then 2 big injuries leading up to that game. So I think that's a huge key. I'm not going to say it's the main key, but it's a huge key if you could just withstand attrition and get to those games in the postseason healthy. And we're pretty much there to a certain degree. Evan still has a couple more weeks, and he's a vital component to our offense and defense. So we're really hoping to get him back. Jedico, we only really played a quarter with him. So if you think about it, he was out 75% of that game against Elizabeth Ford, and some of the kids were able to step in and do a good job in his absence. So Jedico's good. Polott's still got a couple weeks. Our starting inside backer that's been out since Thomas Jefferson, this is his first week that he can actually kind of run around and semi-practice a little bit. So we're anticipating that if we win Friday, he'll be able to go next week. So that'll be a good little boost for us, adding him to our linebacking core. But yeah, we just we got to make sure that we nurse some of those small injuries, and we're hoping to get Evan back in the near future.
So you talked about the EF game. Man, what a statement victory that was. Your team looked incredible. And I've seen Quentin Martin. I think that was maybe the 5th or 6th time. That was the best that I've ever seen him look, just completely dominating that game in all phases. How much did it mean to come out on the road against a previously unbeaten team and to show right off the bat, I think less than 15 seconds in, that your team was going to be in command of that one?
Well, I think it was gratifying to see that it kind of actually worked out the way that you wanted it to work out. A lot of times you have a game plan and a strategy of what you want to do. And, a couple things here or there kind of skew that and derail that game plan. And even if you look, they really tried kind of pooching the ball to the front line on the kickoffs every time they kicked the ball off. And those could have been deadly if we didn't have the kids prepped and ready to catch those and fair catch those. And that helped with our field advantage. But we wanted to kind of try to get the splash plays going early on. And that was what we were able to do. And when we came out after halftime, we really wanted to try to ground it in the run game. And ironically, it worked out that way. So we were lucky to do it. And, to see Quentin with everything that he did was a special night for him. But then again, you got to remember Jetico didn't play much of that game, so we didn't really have that 1-2 type of combo we typically do, which then allowed Quentin to obviously kind of take over and do what he does. So, it was a good game, but, that's a type of team that there's a chance if we take care of business, we'll see them again. And they're the type that you can't just rest your laurels on, you put 48 on them, because, they have big play capability to be able to get 6 points at any point in juncture of the game, and they're physical. So it's one of those things where, obviously it was a solid victory for us, but that's not anything that we're going to hang our hats on. Our hats are hanging on the concept of winning a WPIAL championship. And if we take care of business this week and next week, and that's a big if we take care of business, there's a chance that we might see those guys again. So, just 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. And I like where we're at right now from a health standpoint and how we're playing. I think defensively, we've been such a solid unit all year. Adding Moody back to that only helps out next week if we're lucky to advance past this week. And then, offensively, I think we've been getting better each week, which has been a catalyst to, our success over the past 5-6 weeks.
Well, you're playing an East Allegheny team that has some momentum. They put up 42 points in kind of a shootout victory against Mount Pleasant, 42-39 in favor of the 9th-seeded Wildcats. And I know that Michael Cahill had a performance for a lifetime in that contest. When you look at EA, especially in that first-round victory, what jumps out about them?
I think their quarterback. I think he's a kid that can definitely, do some damage. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. I think they have skill, and I think that's what really pops off the film. They're a team that, they like to throw the ball around, and they can run it. But, I think they're going to try to do what they can to get us in the passing game. And they love trick plays. They love screens. So those are the things that kind of pop off in terms of the emphasis and preparation. They're going to be, throwing I think we have 5 or 6 catalog screens, and they're nice screens. They do a good job with the screen game. So we got to be ready for that stuff. And then we got to be ready for the double passes and anything that they've shown on film that, they try to get. Also, the tailback is very elusive. If you look at a few touchdowns over their past few weeks of the regular season and even the postseason, they have a tendency to, reverse field and kind of do some damage that way. They have a tendency to, scramble and then hurt you with a broken play. So their broken play ability and their ability to have their athletes kind of be athletes in any given time and any given opportunity, that's going to stress our defense a little bit in terms of us getting to the ball, but us more importantly break it down and making sure that we can bottle up their kids.
So obviously, you mentioned what they do well and what you'll need to do. Do you anticipate that your team's going to be facing some pressure because you are the number 1 seed and the heavy favorite? I know you've played with that last year as well, but does that add some pressure to your players?
I don't think it does. And why I don't think that does is because, almost, with the exception of the Elizabeth Ford game, we always were, quote unquote, the favorite to win those conference games. And I think the kids and the coaches did a good job of being realistic in terms of, knowing that if we do everything that we should do, and if we take care of the football and if we execute, that, we should be victorious. I mean, I don't think there's any beating around the bush with a number one of our or a majority of our conference opponents. So I think for most of those conference games, the kids knew that they would be the favorite to win. So I don't think it's anything different from what they've experienced over the past 5 weeks to what they're experiencing Friday. The gravity obviously is that, if you lose, you don't play any more football. So I think they're good with that. I think that's one thing that I've preached all year that we really try to emphasize and we really try to instill that, they are the targets. They are the favorites in 3A. There's no doubt about that. If we have the ability to win it all, and I don't think that I shy away from that. I mean, sometimes I think as a coach, you got to be calculated in how you word things, and you can't. I'm not the guy that is bravado speaking daily to my kids. I mean, I'm a realist. I mean, anything can happen on any given day in that football game, and you can't take anything for granted, and you have to come play and execute. And I think that's what we've done so well. I've never had to worry about the kids getting too high or too low. I mean, we've been through, back-to-back losses with McKeesport and Penn Trafford, and that was a low point. And that locker room was able to battle through that, contrary to what all the noise was going on the outside. They were able to kind of operate with a slow heartbeat and a steady hand. And I think that's how we're approaching this game Friday night. We're just going to operate with a steady hand, a slow heartbeat, and we're going to try to be, as tough as we possibly can and hit as hard as we possibly can.
Final question for you. Obviously, getting the number 1 seed, winning your conference, the benefit is you get this home game. So how important is it to be playing at the beach, and what do you anticipate in terms of that environment on Friday?
Well, the way the classifications worked, 1 through 4 was going to get a home game. So we kind of knew, even if we maybe drop one conference game, that we probably still have a home game. But it's huge. And it's huge because everybody wants a home game, right? From a travel logistical standpoint. But, I think we put such a romanticized aspect on our field, our stadium, our area. We like to think that it's a different type of atmosphere and environment when a team comes and plays us. And we hold that special. And that's one thing that motivates us. We always talk about, what's your why you do what you do. I think the beach is probably on everyone's level of what they and why they do what they do. So for us to be able to get those seniors one more game, it's paramount, because it's just one more game at that venue that we hold near and dear to our hearts. And that's not an over embellishment, or that's not hyperbole. The kids have such an emotional attachment. I have such an emotional attachment to that stadium that's the true benefit, is that we get to be in the comfort of our own home, and we get one more opportunity to play on that field and to showcase our atmosphere on a Friday night.
I'm sure it's a little more work for you as an athletic director, but work you probably don't mind. So, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, I don't mind at all, especially because the kids have off on Friday, so I can dedicate my whole morning to getting stadium prepped and whatnot. So I'll gladly take the extra prep work that comes with a Friday home game to have a Friday home game.
All right. Thanks so much. Congratulations on getting this point, and good luck on
guys.
Friday night as well. That's Matt Humbert, the head coach of the Belle Vernon area Leopards.